At this stage, we're ready to replace the unloader valve on the pump head. Part number 1001.9139. Below the unloader valve is the seat. Not all unloader valves will come with a seat. You've got a stainless steel seat with a seal and an O-ring, a castle cage, and underneath that is a ball bearing. We're going to start by taking the cap off the unloader valve. And in looking at this, I believe this unloader valve is not going to be adjusted properly. So you're going to try and mimic the same amount of threads on the new one that you've got on the old one. And we can do that after we install it. Now first we're going to take and pry up the staple clip. That's what's holding this part in place. So once that's out, we'll take a screwdriver, put it in between the coils of the spring, pry against the body of the head, and out comes the unloader valve. Now, you'll see that a lot of videos will tell you if your pump doesn't have pressure, to replace the unloader valve. That's probably the problem. And I'll tell you that it's probably not the problem. It seems like the easiest thing to replace, and it probably is, but it's usually not the culprit for why you don't have pressure. It's usually going to be valve related or seals, but not so much the unloader valve. Once you take your unloader valve out though, a way to test that is to push the pin. The pin is spring loaded. If when you push that, it's stiff and you hear it click and it breaks free, that means you had calcium and lime or sand grit inside there that was jamming the valve, preventing that from moving. That stops the valve from working properly. If you take it out and this moved freely, your unloader valve was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. Now, the problem could have been in the seat. If debris gets between the ball and the seat inside there, preventing that ball bearing from moving in the proper position, that could cause the pump to be in perpetual bypass, just allowing water to circulate around and not sending it out of the pump to give you high pressure. So let's see if we can take the old one out. We're going to try and use our valve extracting pliers again. And so we're going to kind of go down inside. There's two holes. We're going to try and hook those, and we're going to try and pull it out. Okay, we got it out, and we lost the ball bearing in the process. That's okay. So your little ball bearing sits in there. This piece goes over the top of it, and that ball has a little bit of space to move up and down in there. So I'm going to flush that out. Okay, other than some normal staining of the aluminum, everything looks good on the inside. I'm going to take my new assembly, a little bit of lubricant, maybe a little too much, but it won't hurt anything. I'm going to drop that down inside. I'm going to take something and just push it down in there. My next move is to take my new unloader valve, make sure that spring pushes, nice and springy. I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant on the O-ring. I don't want it tearing when I slide it in. I'm going to tap on this a little just to get it all the way down. It has to go in far enough so that the spring will go over the flat washer. Oh, there we go. All right, it dropped. Now I can tap my clip in. Now, to tighten this or give us more tension, and again, we want to try and be similar to the tension on this one. We want to squish that spring down. We've got the adjustment nut and then the lock nut on top to prevent it from coming loose after we've set it. So I'm going to take a 3/16 Allen wrench to go down inside the center to hold the center shaft. Then I'm going to take my 17 millimeter and I'm going to tighten that nut. The tension setting on this will determine how much pressure your pressure washer has, but you can overdo it. You don't want to go further than what it's designed to do. It's just going to increase your trapping pressure and not your working pressure. So that looks about good there. I'm going to tighten down the lock nut. That way it can't vibrate loose. So you can see we're pretty close on the tension. And the amount of pressure that this will put out is based as well on the horsepower of the engine that this pump is connected to.